From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome to Black Belt Leader, proudly powered by Miller Leith, recruitment specialist and career services provider. I'm Karen Gately, founder of Corporate Dojo. On the show today, we'll be exploring why it matters to bring both belief and humility to our roles. Our guests will share their views on how leaders can support people to build confidence, which is an essential part of our ability to be at our best, but also to ensure that we're helping people with an inflated ego to get it in check. But let's start by looking at some of the facts about belief and humility. So in today's rapidly evolving labour market, 45% of managers don't feel confident in their ability to develop the skills employees need today. That was according to Gartner. A worrying 75% of women say they lack confidence at work. This is research by My Confidence Matters and the University of Glasgow. Women who had taken a career break, of these, 62% felt less confident on their return to work. And researchers found a clear link between workplace burnout and narcissistic leadership. So joining us first to talk about this need for balanced belief and humility is Janine Garner. Janine is CEO and founder and networking guru. She's a speaker, a trainer, a mentor, and an author. Welcome to the show.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me, Karen.
So, Janine, I'd love to start by asking you, why do you think both belief and humility matter to our success in life and at work?
Well, I think the reality is we're human. We're human beings. And for so long, it's almost like we've forgotten that we're human beings. And if we're not careful, we become these robots that are working and trying to get projects done and meet milestones. But the reality is we're human beings with feelings, with emotions. We've got stuff going on in our lives and our worlds. And that is the stuff that fuels either a belief in ourselves or a lack of belief in ourselves. Yeah. And our managers and leaders are humans too. So they've also got that stuff going on.
Absolutely right. So help me to understand, in your experience, the impacts of a lack of confidence. Let's start at that end of the spectrum. What do you see when people lack belief?
They get stuck. Yeah. They get absolutely stuck in terms of their careers. The dreams that they had for themselves just go to a grinding halt. And at worst, they enter into a lack of belief that they're good enough. They beat themselves up about their lack of progress. And at the other end of the spectrum, they get wrapped up comparing themselves to other people. And you just end up in this spiral of lack of control around your dreams and your ambitions and where it is that you're going, because you just don't feel you're good enough.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So obviously you spend a lot of time talking to people about how they can leverage their networks as an example. Yeah. What do you see as the impact in our ability to build those networks, leverage those networks, of either, again, not being confident enough or, in fact, being a bit full of it?
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of not being both, actually, if we're not feeling confident enough, as I said, it keeps us still. And we can't be successful alone. So whether you're struggling with self-doubt or a lack of self-belief or comparing yourself to others, or whether you think you're the best thing since sliced bread, both of those things can halt your career and your progress. So the people we have around us are absolutely critical. They are your weapon, your superhero weapon, your superpower. They will push you further than you can ever go yourself. They see possibility where you see impossibility. They'll pull you up on the things that you're beating yourself up about. They'll fuel your brain with the positivity and help you quit listening to those negative voices in your head. And I believe that we've got to surround ourselves with people that will become our marketing machine, that will become our board of advisors, and that ultimately become our intelligence bank, because we need these smarts around us to push us along the marathon of our dreams. And we are our own worst enemies. So we've got to be brave enough to embrace people around us that will absolutely tell us to quit listening to the voices in our head, or alternatively pull our necks in, so that we can absolutely progress further towards those dreams.
Yeah. Can you think of a time when you've seen somebody who has been able to, as you just described it, pull their neck in, you know, and how they've gone about that and become a more successful professional as a result?
Gosh, absolutely. I mean, I spent pre-COVID most of my life training and working in corporates. My work predominantly is building high-performing teams. And there is nothing worse than somebody with an inflated ego that thinks that their leadership style is the bee's knees and it's everybody else's fault. And it happens so many times because it's never been pulled into check, or alternatively, they've just been rewarded for progressing with that behavior. And at some point, the friction happens. For me, it's about trying to teach them how to gain perspective, about stepping away from the work that they're doing and getting curious about what is really going on here. What is my behavior doing to the people around me? What are people really experiencing? What's really getting in their way? I often ask leaders to think about other people's value system, other people's perspective, other people's loyalty, and most importantly, to actually start being considerate of what other people think they are losing. And as leaders, if we can slow down and talk to people's losses, it gets us out of our own head and actually turns us into more being attention out and meeting people where they're at, so we can move forward together. So the biggest advice I give or I teach people to do is how to get out of their heads that what they know is right, and actually going, you know what, it isn't that way all the time, and you're failing to recognize and see what's really going on around you. And unless you can meet people where they're at, it doesn't matter how much strategy, how much vision you have in place. If you can't touch people's hearts, it's impossible to move forward.
Absolutely. How often do you meet people where the assumption might be that they have an inflated ego, whereas what you actually discover is they have a lack of confidence?
It's always a lack of confidence, I think. I think, often we can get into conflict and we think that people are disagreeing with us. We go into meetings and somebody's taken that power stance. And this is where that curiosity piece comes in, that willingness to listen, to truly understand what is really going on. And most people are either driven by a desire for control, or they're driven by a desire to be the smartest in the room, or they're driven by a desire to be liked. And what we have to do is start understanding what is that drive, what is that hunger. And if you can talk to that, you can usually bring that ego down. So more times than not, Karen, I come across it's a protective mechanism. It's a mechanism to protect what they believe they have a lack of, a worry about being found out, and ultimately a worry about failing, about it reflecting badly in themselves. And that's where that ego comes from.
Yeah. Look, I totally agree, that it is more often than not something that is underlying in terms of that self-belief that's causing that need to make ourselves bigger, make ourselves more powerful, come across as, again, being self-assured in ways that we just aren't. So, when you're working with the people that you do, what are some of the most important steps that you ask them to take around building self-awareness so they can really understand, to what extent am I on either end of the spectrum that we're talking about today, and how can I actually shift that?
Well, the first thing that you have to be able to do is to create that environment where you can engage in conversation. So it's actually asking for people's opinion, which is really hard, right? Because it's beaten out of us. It's beaten out of us in the schoolyard. is beaten out of us by the queen bees, the wannabes, the corporate bullies, that we have to protect ourselves. And yet the only way forward is to truly understand where you are helping people become better, and also where you're potentially holding other people back. So it takes an incredible amount of courage and bravery to create that space, to ask other people, how am I helping you? And where is it that I help you the best, and what behaviors don't help you? That takes an incredible amount of self-leadership. Yeah. It's about opening up that dialogue with other people. There are so many incredible tools out there where you can get some sort of 360 feedback. I ask all my leaders to do that. It's also about being brave enough to not have all the answers. Yeah. So in this particular environment that we're in right now, we have never been here before. There are more questions than there are answers, and this period of time is going to go on for 6, 12, 18 months, 24 months, and we have no proof. And so as individuals, we've got to be brave enough to bring our full selves into conversation, to share our fears, to share our losses, to share what we are worried about, to share what we know, but equally be willing to and brave enough to be challenged on our own judgments, on our own perspectives, on our own solutions. And that is the only way we're ever going to be able to move forward, because the reality is right now we need increased curiosity about, I wonder what the answers could be. It's not as black and white as work from home, work in the office. There are so many parameters at play. We need to embrace connection, and not just connection around people, but how do we connect dots between information and data and skills and people and capability to almost rebuild the system. We've also got to be brave enough to trust our intuition, because all the answers aren't there. And trusting that intuition takes a hell of a lot of courage and bravery. And every single one of us has a role to play in terms of inspiring other people to keep dreaming, to keep hoping, to keep believing that they are taking one step forward. Now, all of that is really tough. And this is where the imposter syndrome kicks in, the comparisonitis kicks in, the feeling that we're not good enough because we try and go it alone. And more than ever, we have to surround ourselves with people that believe in possibility, that know that we are stepping forward, and that will push us and encourage us to become better, because all of us are on a journey. Nobody is perfect. And right now we're working and operating in an environment which we've never existed in before. So all of us are learning, all of us are students again.
Totally agree. Well, thank you, Janine. I really do appreciate all of that fabulous insight and your time with us today on Black Belt Leader.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's always fabulous to chat.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we will have our WTF at Work segment.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more.
Our partner Miller Leith was founded in 2012, and over the past 7 years has carved out a name synonymous with true partnerships and quality outcomes. You may know them by their blue couch logo. It's catchy. Based in Melbourne and Sydney, their focus has always been centred around true partnership with industry sectors and job groups, where they have key expertise such as FMCG, retail, supply chain, engineering, quality, sales and marketing, HR and business support. Miller Leith offers talent search for permanent and contracting roles. They also have expertise with career transition. If you're looking for an authentic talent partnership, call Miller Leith today.
Hey, good morning.
Ticker's your breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
And now for our WTF at Work segment.
Say what?
So welcome to the show, Alana. What have you got for us today?
You are not going to believe this one. This, I've brought you a few doozies. This is next level, so I'm just warning you so you're in the right headspace.
I think you should probably hold for just one moment because I've been very rude and not welcomed our other guest, Liv, back to the show.
No worries,
from
Karen.
Live
Hello.
Mindfully. So we're going to have a chat to Liv soon about her views on our ego versus our confidence. Back to your lovely self.
Okay,
You know who you
this
are.
week's WTF is... I had a boss who refused to leave his office. He'd lock the door and make himself unavailable. While that in itself was irksome, it reached a new level when the cleaners complained about his bottles of urine that he'd leave in his office. So yeah, he really wouldn't leave his office for anything, even to relieve himself. Told you.
What? You know what that brings up for me?
Oh God.
Other than it's a bit irksome, I agree, but my heart aches for that poor man.
The cleaner?
No.
Oh,
the man,
got in trouble for the cleaner.
The man in the office who can't come out. There is something going on for him that is seriously in need of attention and help.
I think
You're a
there's
much
a
more
lot of...
compassionate person than me.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people are watching you going, okay, this is a stretch. There's...
No, think about the fear that is happening for him that is requiring him to separate himself from the natural human urge that we have to connect and be with other people.
But
There
to
is
go to
so
the
much
bathroom.
fear.
Do you think that's not just laziness?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is this a work issue? Like, am I obsessive compulsive and I cannot remove myself from my work, my office to go to the bathroom?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, is this about being really overly conscientious and committed to my work?
No, I'm more thinking like unhealthily obsessed and don't want to be distracted by toilet time. Like toddlers do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like they're rock jumping on the spot, really need to go.
But no cleaner is paid enough money in a business setting to clean up someone else's bottles of urine. That is disgusting, and I'd be putting in some serious complaints if I was that cleaning company, let me tell you.
I think that's entirely reasonable, and I don't believe that it's acceptable conduct.
No.
But as to why we have someone being so crazy.
So separated. I think this is a cry for help. That's the way I would look at it. Someone is really suffering here.
Yeah, okay.
And I mean, I absolutely see that obviously his employees are suffering as well, because it is odd behaviour, let's be frank. But I think it's someone who's really in pain to be able to behave that way. I would be
Well, it's extreme. Let's
getting
put it
some
that
help
way.
for sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with the whole scenario where there's clearly something not right.
Yeah.
Often people who are battling in that way are actually in pain emotionally, but it is next level crazy behaviour, especially when we contemplate this is someone who's in charge of the business.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm assuming that.
No, that was. It said boss. And,
Boss.
so that's an interesting point to get to that level within a business.
Yeah.
You've obviously had to have some managerial skills, some people skills. You can't be that reclusive unless something's changed.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Well-
something's going on there.
Yeah.
That needs attention.
And again,
Maybe a
we
doctor's
talk-
appointment.
I think so.
And we have talked before about the need to take accountability for the impact of our mental well-being on our reality, as well as obviously other people around us. And I think the point at which we catch ourselves peeing in a bottle
Yeah.
and leaving it in our office,
Yeah.
it's probably time we do take
It's a pretty clear
responsibility.
sign. It's a pretty clear sign that we just kind of stop and take a reality check.
Yeah.
That crock pot with the cabbage soup from a few weeks ago's WTF's looking pretty reasonable now, isn't it, Karen?
It's funny you should say that because my mind went to the spit jar,
Oh,
the
yes,
tobacco
the
spit jar on the desk.
Oh,
don't. No,
We've
don't-
had quite the back catalogue of stories.
have, you
Trust me,
guys.
it's been a journey.
How interesting.
So yeah, this guy I definitely, WTF,
Yeah.
if you find your boss leaving bottles of urine in the office,
Suggest some additional support.
yes.
And gloves.
That's where my mind went, because
And some
I've got to be
disinfectant.
honest, I think there's a little bit of a straight through to you might want to explore the market, because it really is out there, but totally take the point
Yeah.
that there's something going on that's clearly not good.
Not good.
There you go, ladies.
Thanks, Alana.
Thank you. Good luck with the rest of your chat. Reset.
Keep them
There
coming.
you go.
Thanks, Alana.
We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Liv about our subject or topic for the day. Thanks.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more.
Hey, good morning.
Ticker's new breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome back to the show. So now we're going to have a chat to Olivia Downing, our psychologist, mindfulness educator and meditation teacher, who's back with us today to explore again our topic around this need for a balance between belief and humility. So they're really keen to ask you around, clearly people having a lack of confidence is a very common thing, a very
Absolutely.
big obstacle to their ability to achieve what they need to in life. Where do you start with people who need to build confidence? What do you think are some of the things we can do?
Such a great question, Karen. I was chatting with a friend about this session today, and she looked at me and gave me a funny smile, and I thought, yeah, you know what, that's been a real journey for me personally.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely something that I have grappled with, that,
Okay.
that I'm fabulous, I'm terrible, I'm fabulous, I'm terrible. And I really think it's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
This is not unique to me or anybody else. And I really believe that this work is an ongoing journey. I don't think we'll ever get there, because I don't think there is a there.
Yeah.
So, as I've always said, we teach what we need to learn, and that's why I teach what I teach. So some of the things that have really supported me and other leaders with whom I've worked is working with things like a strengths-based approach, really helping people identify their core strengths.
Yeah.
As humans, we have this part of our brain called the negativity bias, where we get caught in what's wrong and what's bad. Part of the power of positive psychology is really highlighting for people what's right, what's good, what's working for you.
Yeah.
There's a really wonderful quote in one of the core courses of, I guess, the gold standard of mindfulness teaching, which is, if you're here breathing, there's more right with you than there is wrong with you.
Yes.
And I think that's a really great place to start.
Yeah,
Because,
agree.
what are our strengths? And strengths aren't just things we're good at. They're things we're good at and we enjoy and fill us up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
agree.
I think, getting people to identify what they're good at, what their strengths are, not avoiding their areas for development, but not focusing on them.
Yeah.
Pull the whole person up the curve
Yeah.
rather than sitting in the
Yeah.
messy stuff.
Totally agree with you, and I can certainly speak to this myself. I remember for many years people had this perception that I was really confident and never felt nervous and was just happy to step into spaces.
Yeah.
But the internal dialogue was, absolutely debilitating. Am I enough? Is this going to work?
Absolutely.
The self-doubt, the anxiety that actually comes with
Yeah.
that. And I remember starting my business, and people have often asked, how did you find the courage to step out of an executive role and go and do this? Because I have a husband who's been a full-time parent for over 20 years, and so there's a lot of financial pressure.
Huge pressure and
And the
responsibility.
simple answer for me was, because I got to a place where I had more evidence I could succeed
Yeah.
than evidence I was going to fail.
Beautiful.
And just stepping
Beautiful.
into that, you know. So again, I can totally relate.
Oh, I love that word that you've used, evidence. And I think, you know, if I put my cognitive behavioural therapy hat on, one thing that we ask from our clients is to get them to reality check and look at what is actually happening.
Yes.
Look at the evidence.
Yeah.
You know, there's a wonderful pool or body of work by Byron Katie. So she suggests that people ask 4 questions. And the first one is this thought that I'm having, that let's use your I'm not enough example. Is it true? That's the first question. We kind of go, okay, is it true? What evidence do I have? The second question is, can I absolutely know it's true? The third question is, who do I become when I believe that? And where do I feel that in my body?
Yes.
And the fourth and most awesome question is, who would I be without that belief or thought?
Absolutely.
So it provides that opportunity for people to look at the possibility of what is on the other side of those limiting beliefs. But again, you know, it's not personal. None of this stuff is personal. We as humans, we've evolved this way. You know, when we were cave women, it was very handy to believe we weren't enough, because it meant that we'd look for more food, we'd look for better shelter.
Yeah.
The problem
That vulnerability was core to our survival.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so now we need to literally upgrade the hardware of our
Yeah.
brain to support us to live and function and thrive in this modern world.
Yeah.
So it's important work. It's not easy, but it's very doable.
Yeah.
Can I share with you a tool that I use, a practical
Please
tool
do.
I use
Please
often
do.
and often with my clients? So whenever I feel overwhelmed, can't do it, or oh my gosh, I'm amazing, I'm just like the best gift to the human race.
Rocking it.
Yeah. It's really good to keep ourselves in check by going outside or looking out a window and looking up at the clouds and remembering how small we are in the whole scheme of things. So shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
I think many of us walk around thinking we're the centre of the universe. We're just not.
No.
And so I like to teach people, we're actually not that important, but we are unique.
Yes.
We are powerful. We are here with our gifts and our skills to do what only we can do.
Yeah, that's
so we
right.
need to honour that, but at the same time, keep ourselves in check by remembering we're not the centre of it all.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Look, I totally agree. And it's something, again, that I see all the time with the clients that I work with. I often find myself asking the question, where's your evidence?
Yep.
How do you know that to be a truth? And what I often find is people can't answer that question because so much of it is unconscious. You know, and that ability, as you've said, to deliberately connect with what is reality here, let's put some things in perspective, let's choose to operate from that place is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do you say to people who are struggling? So absolutely, I know the theory, I've been working, I know I need to challenge myself. You know, what would be your one tip for maintaining the momentum or the discipline to stay on the path, to keep working on this internal dialogue? What's one bit of advice you would give?
Oh, there's so many that come to mind. So, you know, I think the one bit of advice I would give is remembering that we are not our thoughts.
I love that.
I think, and that's something that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I discovered mindfulness and meditation, I really started to realise that I'm not my thoughts and I have a choice.
Yeah.
Is this thought supporting me?
Yes.
Shall I jump on board and believe it?
Yes.
Or should I just let it go straight through to the keeper?
Yeah, love it.
And I love the stats that you shared with us at the beginning, Karen, about the women coming back to the workforce after maternity leave.
Yeah.
62% of them don't believe they have the skills or capacity. I think that's because we over-identify with the external demonstration of ourselves, our ego. We forget that we're something bigger than that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know certainly with my journey through motherhood and coming back to the workforce, I really had to remember that, you know, I was more than a psychologist now.
Yeah.
Whereas my whole career, I'd hung my hat on, that was who I was.
Yeah.
But actually,
Fantastic.
if we kind of let that you know, settle and remember we're something bigger than our body, our thoughts, our emotions, our identity, our clothes. We're bigger than all of that. That's a really lovely and nourishing place for us to rest and ride the waves.
Fantastic advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate you being
Pleasure.
here. Thanks for joining us. Again, if you'd like to get in touch and let us know what topics to explore, you can do that via our social media channels. Thanks for being here and see you next time.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more.
Hey, good morning. Ticker's new breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff.